we're just waiting for YouTube to catch up here. And we are going live now. Hey, good afternoon to you. How's everybody doing this fine Tuesday afternoon? Welcome once again to the Crazy Gibberish Live. If you're coming to us from the Reddit OSR subreddit, I think you call it, and the AD&D subreddit, welcome and thank you for subscribing so much. Appreciate it. It's good to have you here. There's a whole library of previous streams you can start watching, and I want to address the 3 hour and 40-minute elephant in the room. Something happened with YouTube yesterday where it just kept streaming and streaming and streaming and streaming, despite the fact that I had shut down all streams, that I'd stopped streaming yesterday. So yesterday's video is not 3 hours and 40 minutes. So if you're looking for like some long rambling thing that I said or did, yesterday's video is like an hour and a minute long. I need to figure out how to go in and like trim that down, but I haven't. I've yet to figure out YouTube's tools, such as they are. It's like, highlight the section you want to cut. The section you want to keep will be shaded. Both sections are shaded, you giant tool bags. So I don't want to accidentally delete yesterday's video. It may just stay looking like it's clocking in 3 hours and 45 minutes. Again, it's not. It's like the typical hour-long show. Anyway. Welcome. No, so yesterday I posted, and it's just one of those, I can't believe I didn't mention this before. I posted on the r/OSR and the r/AD&D subreddits, and I had a whole lot of people subscribe to the channel. So to you folks, welcome and thank you for subscribing. So we've seen an uptick, and because I know you guys, breathlessly follow the metrics of my channel, you have to. I won't shut up about them. Yesterday, we popped up from the mid 660s. And I'm glad we went way over, but it would have been hilarious if we just picked up like 3 subscribers and been sitting at 666 subscribers for a while. I even messaged my co-host on Wednesdays, Kyle Schuant. I said, warm up your vocal cords. We're going to have to cover Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden this Wednesday night. But no, we jumped all the way up to 697 subscribers. Guys, we are drawing ever closer to that mini-con. So please, please, please tell all your friends who maybe even have a remote interest in gaming and gaming history, what have you, to please click subscribe, click the bell, because we're going to have a fantastic time at the virtual mini-con when we hit 1,000 subs here on the channel. It's going to be a stone groove. So yes, seeing us jump up to 697 subscribers warmed the cockles of my heart. Thank you all so very, very much. Welcome to the new subs. This is the thing we do. We just kind of hang out and we talk about old school D&D. So it pictured over here. You see the Star Trek box set. This is what I did an unboxing of yesterday. And today we're going to take a look at character creation. I don't know how far into building a character we'll get, because it might be like Rollmaster. It might be like, 3 hours later kind of thing. But we're gonna take a close look at character creation in Star Trek: The Role-Playing Game, and yeah, we might create us a Vulcan science officer today. We'll see. I don't know. We'll just have to watch how it unfolds. Got a very casual, laid-back flow here, and that's how we go. All right, so let's see. Passerby says, oh, your video from yesterday clocks in now around 1 hour in my YouTube sub. Great. Okay, so YouTube realized that the 2 hours and 40 plus minutes yesterday of nothing, no audio and no video and no connected devices was actually not not to be. So great, that's awesome. Passerby also says, if I really killed all the Neanderthals, listen to the song We Are Only Going to Die from Our Arrogance by Bad Religion. I'm not a huge fan of Bad Religion. I'm not going to go so far as to say I dislike them actively. I'm just not a big fan. I might go with Isle of Man 2 remix by Ministry from Twitch, which is a nice grim song about the extermination of the species. What Passerby is referring to is I was in the audience. I was in the comments on Jay Ashiro's live stream on was it Sunday night or yeah, it must have been Sunday night, and there was some discussion just because things will get a little esoteric on his streams, and I mean that in a very positive way, about Neanderthals and how they died out and were they supposed to be the dominant one. And I just, I made once again, an old man joke at the expense of myself and said, Cro-Magnon didn't kill off the Neanderthals. I did. They had it coming, and I'll do it again if I have to. So that's the joke. And Hello, Cerulean. This is that high quality video you guys have come to enjoy from me. So let's see. Catherine says, lol like me when I build new Sims. Oh, good luck on your new gig at UPS, Catherine. I saw okay, so I don't use Facebook. I stream to it. But like I don't post up, but when I log in to Facebook to connect my streams, it takes me straight to the newsfeed. And I saw my fellow Orlandoite or Orlando person, Catherine Beebe, has got a new gig at UPS. So, yay, Catherine. That's awesome. And welcome to the live stream, of course. So anyway, yes, we are moving on, getting the live stream, or not the, or rather the live stream convention, gaming convention it's gonna happen, folks. We're close. We're so close. Almost 700 subs now. We just need a shade over 300 subs. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to host a mini convention. And if I have to, if it takes it to convince you guys to do it, to get the subs, to go out there and pound the sidewalk and get people in and get people interested, maybe I'll do a full con. 2 days, 3 days, who knows? Only I know. So please, please, please do tell your friends, your acquaintances, if they're interested in tabletop gaming, role-playing games, please come on by, like and subscribe. And that's all I'm going to do, except to acknowledge Paul. Paul, is it Bachleda? Am I saying that right? Or is it hard consonants? Bachleda. Anyway, over on YouTube. That's a big jump. Good to hear you networking and getting more people involved. Well, I just thought, hey, maybe these folks over on Reddit would be interested. And so I went out there, and I don't post much on Reddit, but I took a shot, and we got some new friends, and that's awesome. I love it. So, yeah. And if you're coming from there and you're not sure about what the show's format is, and you didn't watch any of the other videos, you're just like, I'm just going to jump straight into his videos raw. I'm just gonna dive into the deep end, not gonna stick my foot in the water and see what the temperature is. We just do this thing. I just come on here for an hour or so, Sometimes longer if I have guests, which I'll talk about that in a minute. I just come here and I talk about what interests me and what I think might interest you guys. Just what makes us happy. Um, as long as it's more or less oriented to tabletop gaming hobbies. I have done miniature painting live streams before. I'll talk about miniature, the hobby, the craft, um, and sometimes I'll look at something new, but that is kind of old school, like the re-release that Steve Jackson Games did of Ogre in its pocket game form. I mean, that's technically a new game because they threw some rules from other editions into it, but it looks like the one that came out in '78. The giant robot tank marching up a battlefield slowly but inexorably, and then the other player is a human trying to keep their forces together and destroy the ogre, immobilize it, and then bombard it to pieces. So, but that's a new game, but I'll definitely talk about it. And I've done a live stream where I played some Space Hulk. I took out my Space Hulk second edition set, and we played Take Your Own Life mission, campaign 1, mission 1. I don't really know if YouTube will nuke me if I say the S word that refers to take your own life. So I can't really run the risk. But yeah. Paul says, Tankar's been going crazy the last few videos about how many players there are for 5e and how 11% are over 40 years old. The players are out there. We just have to teach them. Yeah, that's it. You're right. You're right. Don't really know Tankar's Tavern that well. I've seen a few things break there. I had a brief interaction once on Tankar's Tavern. Frank Mensar, the artiste of the shooting oneself in the own foot on social media, threw a fit when he got kicked off of Dragon's Foot for starting a bunch of shit with a bunch of users. And I don't care what your feelings about Frank Mensar. I've made my feelings about Frank Mensar very clear. But he made this accusatory post or missive or message somewhere, stating that this group of people that he had decided on were all moderators who worked to get him kicked off, and he mentioned my name. So my one big interaction with Tankar's Tavern was going and posting in that was categorically untrue. I haven't done anything with Dragon's Foot in literally decades. I may have posted something in the intervening time, but I have literally not done anything with Dragon's Foot in decades. So that was the breadth and depth of my interaction with Tankars. But that's not wrong, Paul. I mean, there are plenty of people out there. But I'm happy in my dusty little corner, figuratively and literally, of gaming. It's here. AD&D is here. It's as constant as a northern star. It won't go away until we go away. Just a passerby. 40 million, 40% has once played on Roll20. Wow. That's pretty phenomenal. Let's see. So, another thing we do, new viewers, is we recap my Monday night game that I run via Discord and Roll20. And last night was a doozy, so I'll fill you guys in. The party had returned to Castle Greyhawk with their dwarven fighter who got drained a couple of levels by wights, and although the player itself, he's happy with it because he now gets to calculate XP again. He's like, oh, I'll just level back up. So he took it in stride. Mark playing Grindel the dwarf just took it in stride and is just leveling back up. And they went exploring because hello, Simile. On the second level of my Castle Greyhawk, there is an evil temple. And the 9th level cleric in the party wanted to sanctify it. He wanted to was the opposite of well, yeah, he wanted to sanctify it. And the party descends down. Now, in the city of Greyhawk, in one of the magic shops there, they found a ring that the shopkeep said, well, this will give you the power, the strength of an ogre. And the dual class human cleric magic user was like, oh, I want that. And so he paid 1,000 gold for it. Dons the ring, immediately gets swole. But to make a long story short, it was a ring of contrariness. So he was basically in opposition to anything anyone said or did. It turned him into the adventurer Nathan Thurm, if I may date myself a little bit from an old SNL skit. Martin Short as this unctuous lawyer by the name of Nathan Thurm, who would say, I know that. It's so strange you think I don't know that. You know, like, well, your company's been poisoning the water. No, it hasn't. Yeah, well, yes, it has. No, it hasn't. Yes, it has. We have evidence. I know that. It's so strange you think I don't know that. So that was basically his cleric Etho. So Etho was being extremely contrary, and plus as a magic user, he should have been casting spells, not fighting. So he was acting very contrary. He was using his staff of striking and engaging in melee and so on. And they're like, dude, there's been something wrong with you since you put that ring on. You need to take it off. And after the party had fought no fewer than 3 Fomorian giants, which, if you're not familiar with AD&D, Fomorian giants are tough customers. Lots of hit points, but they got semi-ambushed by them. And the Fomorians were throwing out 4d8 on every attack. It was pretty brutal. But fortunately, there were only 3 of the giants, and there's 12 of the party. And the giants hit them thinking to pincer maneuver them. But that just allowed more fighters to get in the fight. And when you've got a ranger who versus giants, of course, is throwing in plus his level in damage, you can see how the giants didn't do well. Oh, and the party's cleric, the aforementioned 9th level cleric, brought down a flame strike on one of them to weaken it up quite a bit. Yeah, unfortunately, that the don't give us the ring didn't work. The reverse psychology didn't quite jive. So after they kill these guys, I figure, okay, they're gonna make their way to the evil temple and deal with it. They decided to have a brawl in the middle of the dungeon hallway to try and get the ring off of Etho's hand. And I broke out the grappling rules for AD&D, and I've got it down to a science. It runs a lot simpler than you might think. Maybe one day we can do a deep dive over the grappling rules, but they're tackling and punching and headlocking and headbutting, and unfortunately for them, Etho is giving as good as he got, and he's dealing +6 damage when it's his turn, and he got a couple of very high damage rolls. Like at one point he did 12 damage to 2 people who were dogpiling on him, and so they had this fight, and I kept like every round I was checking for wandering monsters. I'm like, surely to God something's gonna hear this, but I never rolled a 1 on the D6. So unfortunately, nothing fun and interesting came along to end their lives. So they finally give up on this useless endeavor and go to the evil chapel, spend a while checking the door for traps and so on. Listen at the door. They can faintly hear what sounds like kind of a one-sided argument, somebody yelling at somebody and that person calmly responding. They did real well on their listen check. And I'm like, okay, let's get ready. They throw the doors open, and what they see are 6 robed and hooded figures standing around a 7th who is standing a few feet away from a very plain, ordinary looking woman who's standing in an arrangement of black candles, and he's yelling at her, berating her to show her true form, to give him the power that he demands, and so on, etc. And she's just laughing at him, telling him, no, I'm not going to do that. And realizing they hadn't been seen yet, they decided to cast Detect Magic. The entire temple detects for magic. Detect Evil, Detect Chaos. That's a thing. We kind of tweaked a Paladin class for one of the players a little bit. So rather than Detect Evil, he's got Detect Chaos. So she's not detecting as evil or chaotic, and they're like, summoned in the middle of a pentagram, not detecting for evil. So the cleric basically turns around and says, what? And then he realizes that it's an adventuring party and not just more temple faithful. Sends his 6 minions rushing down the length of the temple at the party. So basically, they spent their round moving to about 20 feet away from the party. The party makes ready. They fire a couple of missiles, that sort of thing, and miss. And I've got in. These are all 5th level clerics. So there's 6 5th level clerics facing the party. And they get ready to cast multiple hold persons. So there's 6 of them. Every one of them is going to cast a hold person. So that's 18 hold persons on 11 characters. The party wins initiative by 1. Hold person is a 5-segment spell. Every spell that the party cast, or everything that the party was going to do, is fewer segments. So their dice were so hot. Their dice were so unbelievably hot. One of the fighters hucks a jar of flaming oil into their midst and sets one of them on fire and does like 8 points of damage, and the next round will do D6 damage. The dwarven fighter peels off a couple of shots with his crossbow of speed, nails one of them, misses on the second shot, but it's all good. Then things take a turn for the worse for them. Etho breaks out his wand of frost and hits them with cone of cold. 33 points of damage. And they'd gotten softened up as they were coming down the room a little bit with the cone of cold the first time, but it did less damage. But the second time, it did lots of damage. It did lots and lots and lots and lots of damage to them. So even with saves, they weren't going to save. And then finally, like, after the wand goes, the web spell from the magic user, well, the good news is you just webbed a bunch of dead bodies to the floor. The bad news is it's just a bunch of dead bodies that you've managed to web. And he was very circumspect, like, hey, that's fine with me. So they march up the temple. And while all this is going on, the high priest is the evil high priest is having none of it. He's like, I'm out of here. Turns, flees behind the altar. The woman in the pentagram, they can now tell it's pentagram, is laughing her ass off at all of this. In a very mocking, nah, 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 you got what you deserved, towards the high priest as he's fleeing. So she explains to them that she is neither chaotic nor evil, and indeed, she's not, although they can't detect what she is. True seeing's not revealing what she is. It's like she's resisting the magic innately. And so the high priest dives behind the altar, and she says, he's got a trap door over there. A hidden trap door, and that's probably where he went. So they erase part of the pentagram and allow her to step out, and she takes up arms, and she's like, I don't know what you guys have planned, but I'm going with you, and I'm going to help you kill him, because he deserves to die. He is chaotic and evil and deserves to die. So they don't really have a problem with her being armed, and they've got this strange erstwhile ally with them now. And we ended on two notes. One, and it was interesting because the players didn't pick up on this, she called Etho by name and said, Etho's wearing a cursed ring. That's what's making him so contrary, because, like, she was saying, you should erase the pentagram and let me out. And Etho, of course, Ring of Contrariness, is saying, don't do that. That's stupid. Don't listen to this bitch. The player's words. And yeah, she was addressing everyone by name. And the players themselves didn't pick up on this. So, and she tells the party's cleric, you should cast that remove curse spell, and then you can wrench the ring off of his hand. So they hit him with the remove curse, which they had to touch him. So they're literally like chasing him around the temple. It was like something out of a ridiculous slapstick comedy. Hit him with remove curse, pull the ring off of his finger, and then the cleric proceeds to cast his spells of blessing and sanctification and so on of the altar. And that's the that's where we left off, because the altar like cracked when he did that. It was obviously very evil, and now they've got a choice about whether to take her along, take her back to camp, go back down, what have you. But yeah, so that's where he left off, with some real slapstick in Castle Greyhawk. And that's how that went. Yes, the yakety sax was playing. So, that was Monday night's game. Lots of fun was had. I think everyone enjoyed it. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And so before we dive in to Star Trek, just a couple of brief announcements. They'll be brief, I promise. My monitor's sitting in the shot. Just a couple of brief announcements. I mentioned earlier that this live stream, we do guests. We will be having a guest this Friday, a longtime friend of mine, Kevin Wood, will be joining us on the live stream. I've known Kevin for about 30 years now. I've known Kevin longer than I haven't known Kevin. And I have gamed with him for decades, literally. He is a friend of a long time. He is an extraordinary game master. And we'll find out how good of a talk show guest he is on Friday, because Kevin will be joining us. It's looking like next week, attorney Ty Beard, attorney and game designer Ty Beard will join us on the live stream, and we're going to take a look at the Open Gaming License. I have some thoughts about the Open Gaming License. They might not be the smartest things in the world. They might be, in fact, actually quite dumb. But Ty's going to join us and see if he can't shoot a few legal holes in my poorly informed theories and thoughts about the Open Gaming License. But I don't want to give too much away. So those are a couple of our guests that are coming up soon. I'm always reaching out to people with an old school game design vibe. So if there's anyone you'd like to see, like if you know, oh, John Smith, the designer of Mice and Maces, is on YouTube, and I played that game back in the 70s and 80s. I would really like you to talk to him. Give me that info. I'll reach out to him. Maybe he's like me, an erasable asshole, and you don't want to... He's not a person that you'd want to hear from at all. Or maybe he's the nicest guy in the world. We can find out together. So... those are our upcoming guests. Kevin Wood this Friday. Next week at some juncture, hopefully, knock on wood. Because Ty really is a real-life, high-powered attorney. So I can't just kind of snap my fingers and say, oh, yeah, he's not busy. He's out there defending people and so on. Question for Ty Beard. Why didn't TSR sue the band Caius? Oh, that's a fine question. I mean, I myself couldn't venture a guess, except possibly... what country is Caius based out of? The band. I know nothing about them. Let's take a quick look at them. Oh, they're out of California. History, let's see. The band formed in 1987, jamming under the name Katzenjammer, German slang word for hangover, literally moaning of a cat, before eventually deciding upon Sons of Caius. Brant Bjork selected the name from the undead monster found in the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game. In 1989, the band recorded their eponymous debut EP, Sons of Caius, which was their only feature to release Chris Cockrell on bass. After self-releasing the EP in 1990, the band recruited Nick Oliveri, who previously had played second guitar on Katzenjammer, to replace Cockrell on bass, and shorten their name to Caius. I don't know. And it's interesting that they didn't, because in the late 80s and early 90s, TSR had were willing to engage in tactical nuclear lawfare on an industrial basis. So that they didn't is fascinating. And Ty may not know. Ty may be more of a Johnny Cash kind of guy. We'll just have to find out. Well, you just stick a pin in that, passerby. Write that down, and I will ask him when he's on the show next. So yeah, that's that. Let's get into it, though. Let's take a look now at Star Trek: The Role-Playing Game and character creation. Yeah, and we'll have some fun. All right. So we have here the game, and we did a cracking unboxing of it yesterday. So let's just pop that open. Nothing special in the lid, except some black mold, it looks like. I'm just kidding. It's just like ink. Here are our counters, which we won't need. and our rule book, our core rule book. A Bird of Prey. So there's our rule book. Now, I know a lot of the games I feature here, I tell you, you can get this, you can buy this on Drive-Thru RPG, you can buy this on RPG Now. I don't know that FASA Star Trek is available. This is a license, and those are very sticky things. So before I dive too deep into this, let's go to Drive-Thru RPG, and let's take a look. FASA Classic Traveler, Earth Dawn. Good Lord, Earth Dawn. Lots of Earth Dawn. Earth Dawn, Earth Dawn, Earth Dawn, Earth Dawn. That sounds weird the more you say it. Earth Dawn, Earth Dawn. 400 items. So if that's in the E's, then sort by title. Let's do that. Battletech, Earth Dawn. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is probably completely unavailable. I would be shocked if it was Traveler Spelljammer from FASA? The hell? All right. Let's just try FASA and Star Trek. No. So, yeah, this is probably entirely out of print in all its forms, the revised editions and so on. So if you want this, like if you fall in love with this after I talk about it, you may find yourself having to track it down through used means. You may want to try and track down a PDF if somebody's ever scanned it. And folks, it's out of print, okay? I'm not advocating piracy. This is out of print. I mean, not out of print like FASA still owns the IP and could still publish it, you know. They could bring it back one day. No. FASA doesn't exist, and even if they did, their license to print Star Trek wouldn't exist anymore. So, however you can find it, if you fall in love with it, that's it. I'm gonna scoot up a little bit here. I'll lean this back some. And yeah, let's dive in. And I apologize if this is a little skewed. This is really more for entertainment value than you guys actually being able to see. But let's go ahead and get into it. So we have an introduction. We have Kirk, McCoy, and Spock beaming out there in a lovely thing. Star Trek the Role-Playing Game is not a standard family board game. It doesn't feature a board around which players move playing pieces. And yet it does. And yet, guys, what I do with it? Yeah, the box is over here. It does. It has a board and it has playing pieces and everybody moves them around. That's like right out of the box you're lying to us, guys. With dice rolls determining movement and random events. But it does! It has dice that determine random events. It has those things. The game uses a board at times, dice, and playing pieces, but these are used differently than in standard board games. Okay, all right, that's fine. That's fine. We'll let him clarify, but it absolutely uses dice to determine random events and so on. And this basically launches into what is a role-playing game? What is Star Trek? What is FASA? What is paper? What is a conjunction? And so on. And we have a glossary, action points, adventure. Ooh, what's an adventure? What do they call it? One mission designed to stand alone or as part of an continuing campaign. Usually a single adventure or mission will only take 1 or 2 game sessions to complete. Oh, you optimistic people at FASA. Counter, D10, charisma, character creation system, die modifier. Oh, department head. What do they say, department head? A position of responsibility on a starship. Department heads on Constitution-class starships include Chief Communications Officer, Chief Medical Officer, Chief Engineer, Chief of Security, Chief Helmsman, Chief Navigator, and Science Officer. Did you ever think it was weird that a ship with 500 crew, even with all that automation, they've got multiple medical personnel, they've got multiple engineers, they've got multiple people that can operate the helm, but only one science officer? And you're flying out into space, which is populated with unknown shit, and there's only one science officer. And if he goes into Pon Farr, gets the spore shot into him or whatever, you're stuck. All right. This is weird. YouTube is saying I have 2 concurrent viewers, and you have the little spiky graph thing there showing that there's like 5. Oh, well. Damage roll, die modifier. Oh, one thing we got to check out. I promised you yesterday we would look into this. In Murphy's Rules, which is a humorous collection of rules that seem to be very silly and or unbalanced or ridiculous and improbable, that was published by Steve Jackson Games, they mention that a bow and arrow does more damage than a phaser rifle. So we're going to check that out today. All right. So it just goes on to explain terms that we already know. Yeah, it's a rather extensive glossary. There's Spock. You fine-looking Vulcan, you. Spock for president. Two hit rolls. There's Spock again with the IDIC. Funny thing about that little medallion, the people at Paramount wanted to sell those medallions in stores. They wanted to put an ad directly in Star Trek. They literally wanted Leonard Nimoy almost breaking the fourth wall and saying, here, basically, hey, kids, go buy an IDIC medallion. And he didn't. He was like, this is ridiculous. It demeans me as a performer. It demeans the character. It demeans the show. And they're like, well, we'll get somebody else to do it then. And they got, in this particular episode, they got the guest star. And they're like, do you want to do this? And she's like, this demeans my character. This demeans the show. This demeans So they kind of compromised and discussed the IDIC, but didn't stick a commercial in the middle of the show. And there's Kirk getting with a babe. And of course, we have our player character races. Humans. I love that they got McCoy to represent the humans. They could have gone with Kirk, but no, it's McCoy. Humanity is the most numerous sentient species in the Federation. Besides Earthborn humanity, there are also thousands of human colony worlds. On some of these worlds, particularly those long colonized, the human population has changed and evolved to better adapt to local conditions. Besides Earth colonies, there are a number of civilizations with no known ties to Earth that have nevertheless produced native species identical to Earth humans in virtually all respects. Scientists have not answered the questions for this that this raises. Nor have they explained why even some definitely non-human races, Vulcans and Klingons, to name only two, still bear so many resemblances to humans. It is believed by some scientists that all of these races are offshoots of some common space traveling race in the distant past. This theory is not proven, however, and is widely disputed. Yeah, I can definitely see the Federation going, maybe Von Daniken was not wrong. At any rate, all planetary cultures with basically human physiology are considered human in this game, despite unimportant variations in height, weight, skin coloration, sensory enhancement, etc. Note that not all human cultures are part of the Federation. Thus, humans may even turn up as a non-player or even as an enemy race at times. Remember that though humans are basically the same physically, their motivations and backgrounds may be very different. Each character's personality and actions should be developed by the player based on the background he creates. Oh my goodness, very non-inclusive of you, FASA. I mean, Gary says he or she, so... A person who grew up on a small agricultural world will have a different point of view than one who grew up in the cities of Earth. And then we get to Vulcans. What do they have to say about Vulcans? Let's take a look at that. Vulcans were the first alien species encountered by humans that were significantly different in physiology and psychology from the people of Earth. They are human-like in many respects, but in other ways they're totally different. Vulcan, the home planet, as translated from their tongue, is a harsh world, dry and hot with higher gravity and a thicker atmosphere than Earth. These conditions affected the Vulcan physical development. Vulcans are stronger than humans with more physical endurance. Their blood chemistry is based on copper rather than iron as a carrier of oxygen. This makes their blood greenish in color and gives them a somewhat greenish-yellow complexion. Their eyes are protected from the harsh Vulcan winds and sand by a thin, transparent membrane, much like a second eyelid. Vulcans came from lizards. The lizard people. Oh, man. Vulcan culture is far older than Earth's. In prehistory, Vulcans were tribal and warlike, as savage as early humans, if not more so. Their savagery savagery threatened to bring about their extinction through constant warfare. Eventually, the ancient Vulcan philosopher Surat turned the people of Vulcan away from violence by introducing a philosophy of rejection of emotional expression. And that worked out well for them, don't you think? Today's Vulcans refrain from expressing all emotions, letting logical thought and a rational decision-making process rule their lives. A commonly held misconception among humans is that Vulcans have no emotions. This is not true, but it is so widely believed that some Vulcans believe it themselves. Actually, Vulcans suppress emotional reactions, depending on mental discipline to keep emotions from affecting their thinking and actions. This process is so ingrained in Vulcan tradition and society that it is almost automatic for Vulcan adults, even under great stress. In fact, the expression of emotion is considered to be an extremely bad taste in Vulcan society. Only a barbarian or mental defective would think of such a thing. So if you got a Vulcan walking around singing "Joy to the World," Jeremiah was a bullfrog, he's mentally defective. And then there's a whole section on Vulcan telepathic technique. Maybe if we get to character creation today, we'll just stick with a human. Because Vulcans get Vulcan telepathic techniques under game mechanics for Vulcans. Because I'm not going to read like another 2/3 of a page about Vulcans and Vulcan society and physiology. They get mind touch, one-way transfer of basic concept or feelings such as hunger, fear, or a feeling of relaxation. Mind touch. One-way communication of short messages or complex concepts or feelings such as the prisoners are escaping or we are not hostile. Then we have other types of mind touch. Two-way telepathic communication of simple concepts. Two-way sharing of complex thoughts. Exchange of memory, data, and thought sharing modifications of subjects' memories or attitudes. And these all get more and more difficult, one would presume, to perform as time goes on. Mind fusion complete, sharing of self. I know what you know. I feel what you feel. Mind meld per additional person in any of the above levels. So yeah, you get the full salad bar of Vulcan mind meld techniques there in that, and telepathy abilities. As you remember, Spock, like, telepathically reaching through a wall to get a guard to come and let them out. And then he tried it later against the Andromedans, and it literally blew his mind because their actual minds were so alien. Good times. And the Vulcan nerve pinch. You got all kinds of modifiers for the Vulcan nerve pinch. Victim is unaware. Victim is caught by surprise. Victim is on guard. Victim is on guard and aware of nerve pinch technique. I'm reminded of that scene in Spaceballs when Bill Pullman tries it. He's like, ah. The guy's like, what are you doing? Vulcan neck pinch? Like, no. You got to go up higher, much higher on the neck, up here. That's it. Thump. Sir, there's a large multi-legged creature on your shoulder. What? Yeah, there's a lot of races here. Andorians, Eodans, Tellarites. Could someone play a green-skinned Orion slave girl if they wanted? And then we have familiar characters. We have Kirk, Spock, Sulu. Oh my. Sorry, I keep hitting the camera. This is not a great camera mount, and I apologize for that. McCoy, Uhura, Scotty, Chekhov, Pavel Chekhov, Nurse Chapel, and Ensign Rand. Other Enterprise crewmen, red shirts. No, they actually have named one-off characters here. Mr. DeSalle, Mr. Winston, Ensign Riley, Lieutenant Riley, rather. If you remember him, he was in more than a couple of episodes. Dr. Mbenga. Now we're down to the red shirts. Security guard, engineering specialist, science specialist, Commodore or Admiral, serving planet side. Other Star Trek characters. Harry Mudd's listed here. You can't, Kirk. It's inhuman. Cyrano Jones from Trouble with Tribbles. Khan is in here. Khan Noonien Singh. New skills. Bribery, forgery, interrogation, small vessel piloting, trade and commerce. Non-player character races. Oh, so you can't run a Klingon or a Romulan. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Okay, Orions are listed in the book, but you can't play one. The Orions from a planet in the Rigel star system are an allegedly neutral group. They tend to encourage privateers, pirates, however, on an informal and unofficial basis. Orion pirates and smugglers are sometimes encountered by the Federation. Orion males, for the most part, are human-like beings with skin color ranging from a ruddy golden orange to the more human-like tones similar to Earth Caucasians. There are females of this race as well, but some females are born who appear very much like human females, but with green skin. The green-skinned women are held in semi-slavery arrangement by the Orion men. Although I guess in one of the later shows, they prove that to like be 180 degrees around. Like basically the Orion slave girls are actually the masterminds, and they're using pheromone abilities to keep the males in check. they basically hold all the power, but for outward appearances, they appear to be slave girls, which is kind of a neat twist. You know, I thought it was done in a very cool, I didn't think it was too ham-handed. That to me is kind of a cool thing. Paul says, I like that they included 2 alien races from the animated series. Yeah, and I just want to mention Star Trek the Animated Series for just a minute. And Gorn are also in here. As goofy as it could be at times, Star Trek the Animated Series was not really any worse than Star Trek the live action show. They could get away with a little bit more in terms of far out concepts because they were on an animated budget rather than not an anime. They were animating rather than having to come up with props and so on live action. So really, I consider the animated series like the 4th season of Star Trek. It's not terrible. That was an Enterprise show, had some great... I make a big show about hating anything that's not Star Trek, the original series, the animated series, or the movies that featured the original series crew, Generations not included. But there have been 1 or 2 episodes of other shows that I didn't actively dislike. And Enterprise had some fun episodes in it. And the Orion slave girls, in fact, being revealed to be the real seat of power. That's fine. That's fine. And I mean, to be honest, it fits. It even fits with old Star Trek. The 2 times that on the original series that they encountered Orion slave girls, one was in the pilot episode, and then later in Whom Gods Destroy, where they go to the insane asylum and confront Garth Avizar, who's seized power there. Both times, the so-called Orion slave girl has got tremendous power over the men around her. So I don't feel like to me, it's not a big leap to assume that the whole Orion slave girl thing is a ruse put forward by them. It's not like, I don't know. It's not like it's not like if they came in and revealed that, you know, I don't know, admirals in the Federation use foul language that it's been canonically established isn't in use anymore, or that, you know, Picard, who, whatever, TNG, but I get it that it's very important to a lot of people, is an ineffectual nutsack who can just get pushed around by people and screwed up everything he touched. You know, it's not like they did that. So yeah, you can have Orion NPCs. And I think in later editions of this game, they actually kind of opened things up and made it so you could run some of these beings as player characters. Kirk's first girlfriend in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek reboot was an Orion. She was a Federation crewman. And by the way, a lot of people have assumed that she died. She shows up at the end. I don't know if it's a continuity error or if they wanted to imply that the actress was not killed when her ship was destroyed. But at the end ceremony, when they're awarding people, you can kind of see her off to the side. So, and apparently having gotten over Kirk. Tholians, which, man, a Tholian would be difficult to play. You're basically a stack of D12s that has to exist under high pressure and freezing temperatures. And we finally get now, how far into this are we, time-wise? We're at an hour, so we've got creating player characters. This is on page 30. Personally, I think they should have dove into creating player characters with, like, hey, check out this section in the book for different alien races. 30 pages in, and we're only just now getting to creating a character, and we're an hour in now. So we're just going to kind of gloss over some of this, and I think, I don't know, I'll talk to Kyle. Maybe tomorrow we'll do like a character generation session on Wastrel Wednesdays, because Kyle is coming back for. So again, for those of you who are joining us newly, if you haven't gone back and watched any of the previous videos, my co-host is Kyle Schuant, who is a game designer. He's down in Australia, so we kind of got to juggle our schedules. Like, it's like 2:00 in the morning down there now, so he can't be on with me during the regular day. But most Wednesdays, barring some exceptions, when family life comes up, because we're very pro-family here on the CG. If he says, hey, I can't make it, he can't make it. I get it. But he is my Wednesday co-host. And again, he is a game designer. He's designed an absolutely fantastic little lightweight RPG called Conflict. I'm going to link to it here in just a minute. But maybe Kyle will be interested in doing some character generation. And if not, then we'll get into character generation on Thursday. But here we're up to the point now of generating a character. And I'm just going to kind of gloss over a few things. So you get character attributes. First, choose the character race. And it is random generation. It's roll 3d10 and add 40 for each character attribute except luck and psionics. Apply the racial modifiers from the chart below. Some races tend to have higher or lower scores in some area. If a character should be a hybrid, like half human, half Vulcan, Mr. Spock, decide which half is dominant and use those modifiers. For luck and psi, roll percentile dice and apply racial modifiers. In all cases, any score that finishes at less than 0 is raised to 1, but any score going above 99 is allowed to do so. Interesting. Paul says, 30 pages of lore to consume in order to prepare for the very involved character creation process. Love FASA, but their systems were not for the softer brain. Very much so. Very much so. One day we'll do a deep dive into MechWarrior, the RPG. They didn't have alien races in BattleTech. Okay. I don't want to get too far off on a tangent here. But one of the things that Jordan Weisman said when he was designing BattleTech from the get-go is, I don't want alien races. Humanity is still the enemy of itself. This is a humanocentric game. BattleTech is. With 2 exceptions, that was always the case. The absolutely amazing novel, which really the novel that is responsible for why the BattleTech universe is shaped the way it is, or one of the 2 novels, one of the 2 novels that for why BattleTech is shaped, the universe is shaped the way it is called The Sword and the Dagger. And it's kind of a retelling of The Man in the Iron Mask. It was written by the late Art F. Mahar. And a race of these, like, pink-furred sort of orangutan kind of creatures show up. And there's a mech warrior who's badly injured. And gets very, very ill because of his injuries. He ejects into a swamp, and his injuries get all infected, and he's extremely sick. So these little ape-like creatures pick him up and carry him off and tie him to a tree to leave him to die. And the other is a race of intelligent bird-like creatures in a book called Far Country. But they're never mentioned again. They're almost considered non-canonical. But even with that, even with just humans, there's 5 distinct societies, multiple distinct societies if you include the clans. There's a lot of lore to get through before you start making a character in that. And just like Star Trek, there's a lot of lore you got to dig through to get to it. So you have your stats you generate, then pre-academy. What a character did before entering the academy may be important to his career. To give the character some background, skills may be chosen at this time, and a background story worked out of it if the player so desires. I like how still they're giving the player a chance to, to use secondary skills, as I call them from AD&D, as an anvil on which to shape a character, or not. They might just say, look, I'm a cipher, and my stories are what I do in the game, but you don't have to. It's a life path, but it's a light-stepping life path. So you have pre-academy skills. Administration, why that would be a pre-academy skill, I don't know. Artistic ability. Carousing. Carousing is a skill. How awesome is that? Carousing is a skill. So what did you do before you entered the academy? Got drunk? A lot. Got in fist fights? A lot. Gaming. Instruction. Instrumental music. Oh, you get the Spock little harp thing there. Which is apparently a real instrument. Not like it was a real instrument before it showed up on the Star Trek, but people have made them. Trippy. Languages, leadership, marksmanship, archaic weapon, marksmanship, modern, negotiation, diplomacy, personal combat, armed weapon, personal combat, unarmed, planetary survival, streetwise. I wish I had enough RPGs in my library that I could drill down through and find out where streetwise first showed up. It may be here. But man, that skill, streetwise, it just, it just summons up images of the Michael Jackson red vinyl jacket with the shoulder flares, and what's the word on the street? Hey man, you're not wise enough for this street. Gonna need carousing to keep up with Scotty. Oh yeah. When he took down the Andromedans with that bottle of scotch that he had hidden behind his family breastplate, hanging on the wall of his quarters. God bless you, Mr. Scott. Then you got education and background. Stuff like astronomy, astrophysics, atmosphere craft pilot. Sulu was a helicopter pilot. He had it's more implied in the novelization of The Voyage Home. But even in the film, he was all about flying that Huey helicopter to lift the sheets of transparent aluminum. But in the book, he straight up says, yeah, I got an antique helicopter, which I think is just friggin' cool. Sulu is awesome. Botany, comparative archaeology, computer operation, computer technology, electronics technology, Federation history, Federation law, if you want to play a Samuel T. Cogsley character, geology, ground vehicle operation, medicine, physical chemistry, physics, planetary ecology, psychology, racial culture, history, small unit tactics, water vehicle operation, and zoology. I don't know, a bunch of these seem like shit that you would be learning in academy and not just like, just as a hobby before I joined Starfleet, I have small unit tactics, ground vehicle operation, computer operation, personal combat armed by weapon, and modern marksmanship. Well, shit, dog. What what did you join the Federation for? And then when you join the academy, you get administration, astronomy, astrophysics, computer operation, Federation history, Federation law, instruction, languages, leadership, marksman, modern, and personal combat unarmed. And you get to add those because you get like a base of 10 or 20 in each of those, depending on which it is. And you can then add those onto your previous one. So it's a bit like Twilight 2000, which I know I haven't done a deep dive on Twilight 2000 and talked about how its character creation system works. But in Twilight 2000, you have military background and educational skills. Background would just be things you learned around the house, the farm, whatever before the war. Educational is what you went to school for, and the military is what the military taught you. And a lot of those overlap, and some of those start out with like a baseline. Like if you're in the military, you have a basic rifle skill of 20%. Like, you know that the bullets come out the round end and you can point that and, you know, 1 time in 5 hit what you're aiming at under nominal circumstances. But then you can have combat riflemen, you can buy it up, or your specialization, your military specialization, might tack on some to it, and you'll add all that together. So that's kind of what FASA is doing here by giving you a package of academy student stuff. But it also depends on what school you're going to. So once you get your academy skills, you then pick an area of specialization. You can go into sciences, which that seems to be the shortest list, so we'll just jump in with sciences. You get astronomy, astrophysics, computer operation, environmental suit operations, planetary ecology, starship sensors, any other science skills, botany, computer, archaeology, geology, physical chemistry, physics, zoology. You basically get that as 90% in combination, but at least 2 must be at least 10%. And then, so you get that 90 to spread out across those skills. And then transporter operations procedure. Cadet cruise assignment. You roll dice to see what ship you're going to land on. Is it merchant marine? Odds are you're going to be in the military division. Or possibly colonization. Like 50, a roll of 50 indicates you're going to, like your cadet cruise is going to be in the military or on a colonization craft. Less than 15, you get to serve on a Constitution class, the Enterprise. Or related ship. And then we get to cadet cruise results. This is where you can die during character creation. Roll percentile dice and apply the modifiers below to determine the results of the character's cadet cruise. Let's see. Less than 5, passed with high honors, promoted to Lieutenant JG. First post-academy, minus 20 to first post-academy assignment roll. 6 to 15, passed with honors, assigned as ensign, minus 10 to first post-academy roll. 16 to 60, which is probably where you're going to mostly hit, passed, assigned as ensign. 60 or better, did not pass, repeat cruise procedure. And then you've got die modifiers as to where you were. And then you pick up some cadet cruise skills. And then when you get promoted enough, you pick up a set of skills for command that are administration, computer operation, Federation history, Federation law, instruction, leadership, negotiation, starship combat, tactics, and strategy. And if this sounds like a mind full of stuff, if this sounds like something where you're like, whoa, man, that's a lot to take in. Now is my character ready to play? Oh, we're now to page 33, and we launch into post-academy experience. Now that the character has been through the academy and the cadet crews and command school, if such is applicable, it is time to put on the finishing touches. The post-academy experience procedure determines in what areas the character has been assigned before the current assignment. That is, before the game begins. And post-academy goes on for 2 pages. Term length and assignment, service skill roles, character aging. Okay, I'm sorry, it just goes on for 1 page. Character aging, rank and position. And then we have the character sheet, and boy, doesn't that look nice and simple. There's our character sheet. I'll try and bring that up a little bit so you guys can see it. So yeah, there's like this multi-grid sort of XY chart here. Service experience. My buddy Scott had apparently written some things there. You've got your skill chart underneath. Your stats go here. Action points here. Little bio information there. Permission granted to photocopy for personal use only. Yeah, well, sure shit. I'm not going to try and dedicate all that to memory. Skills and skill levels. Obviously, this is not... You can't be like a 4th level starship captain. But skills can go up. Skill areas, alphabetical listing. I'm not going through that list. So I'm kind of glad we decided to gloss over this rather than me try and build a character. So I would have had to have started at 12:30. Just like, okay, guys, we're doing this. Boom, let's go. And I'm sure there's some propeller head out there who's like, I played FASA Star Trek for the last 50 years. I can generate a character like that. I'm not that person. Carousing. The fine art of drinking, bar hopping, gambling, and chasing each other around. When Starfleet personnel get shore leave, look out. Hello, sailor. Use this skill for saving rolls on having a good time, and average it with endurance for determining how well a character can hold his own. And how well a character can hold his saurian brandy. God bless you, FASA. But that's fun, you know? That's just something fun thrown in there. Instrumental music. This skill shows expertise in playing a musical instrument. Many of Star Trek's central characters were musically inclined. Spock played the Vulcan harp, which Uhura also learned to play, and Scotty is an accomplished player of traditional Scottish bagpipes. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He played Amazing Grace for Spock at the end of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. An instrument like bagpipes or general class of instrument, keyboard instruments, must be specified. All right, guys, we're getting to this now because the live stream's been going on for a while. Didn't really get so much into the mechanical creation of character, just so much as a look at the rules. But we're going to find out right now, hopefully. Let's see, is there an equipment section? And if there is, does a phaser rifle do less damage than a bow and arrow? Lots of meaty data in here. Planet side adventures. Weapons. Okay. So that's just kind of a glossing over. Equipment. Medical equipment, medical aid and recovery. All right, let's look it up in the old Equipment, page 70. All right. Let's go to page 70. Equipment, earpiece receiver, environmental suit, life support mask, psycho tricorder, sciences tricorder. But I'm not seeing any stats. I wonder maybe if it was a later version. All right, let's keep looking. There's nothing in there about personal combat. Not in that section. Am I missing something? Because you would think that would be in the basic rule book, and I want to know. Designer's notes, Game Master hints and suggestions, starships, encounters in space. Shipboard systems, Starfleet Command. See, I'm not seeing. You'd think that they would have those stats for damage and so on listed. Animal creation, technology, new life and new civilizations. Yeah, it's just telling us what we see on the TV show with weapons. Maybe it's not more damage, maybe it shoots further. I'm not even seeing the phaser rifle listed. Phaser 1. Phaser 2. Phaser rifle. Okay. The phaser rifle is used in combat or emergency situations by security personnel. The rifle consists of a rifle mount with extended power pack into which the Phaser 1 or Phaser 2 combination is fitted. It further increases the range of all the settings listed for Phaser 1 above and further extends the overload blast radius. Okay. So there's nothing listed for range. Damn it. This is going to drive me nuts. So what I'm going to do is we're going to set that aside for now. And I am going to look that up for our next, whether I mention it tomorrow night or Thursday, we will find out. You know what? Kevin played a lot of Star Trek. Maybe Kevin knows. We could ask Kevin on Friday also. But for now, that's where we're going to leave off with our deep dive into Star Trek. So we'll let that go there. Let's see. Paul says, need a +1 phaser, otherwise Assault Vampire takes half damage. Yeah, there you go. Such a great episode, that one. That, man, you know, Spock and Kirk, well, Shatner and Nimoy get a lot of credit for some good acting on the show and having some good lines. But McCoy, really, like when he killed the salt vampire that had taken on the shape of the woman that he had been in love with, and just God forgive me. I mean, man, such gravitas. Such a great scene, that. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna do a little bit better homework, and we're gonna find out if a bow shoots further than a phaser, because that's bugging me. And if maybe, because you would think that would be something that they would include just right there, just like, oh, okay, here's how you do. Here's how you handle combat. That's a Murphy's Rule right there. The Star Trek, the role-playing game from FASA in 1983, does not include rules for weapons ranges or damage. That may be something that's missing from this set also. Because we have the basic rule book, we have the starship pullout sheets and so on. But it says, see, it says rules for man-to-man combat, starship combat, planetary generation, culture, and alien generation are also included. So what are we missing? I keep saying we're going to go back to it later, but it's bugging me. It's driving me up the wall. So we have weapons. We have, all right, combat and tactical movement, 44. All right, so I say, okay, all right, so here we go. Bow, short range, 1 to 20, medium, 21 to 60, long, 61 to 130, extreme, 131 to 190, and I'm guessing we're talking about those in terms of meters. Phaser, oh my God. So I just read off the range of a bow to you guys. Phaser rifle, short range, 1 to 15, long range, or medium range, 16 to 35, long range, 36 to 90, extreme range, 91 to 150. That's right. You can outrange a longbow, or you can outrange a phaser rifle with a longbow. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you. You can outrange. It's right there in black and white on page 54. Yes, it is true. You can outrange a phaser rifle with a longbow. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. Joshua said, messaged you on Facebook. Let's see. Catherine's military logic. Picard received his heart injury from carousing, missed his role. Botany Bay. Botany Bay. Oh no, we have to get out of here. Yes, I did find it, Joshua. Kevin Reynolds over on Facebook talking about Botany Bay. Oh my gosh. So yes, boys and girls, yes, you can in fact shoot a bow further than you can fire a phaser rifle in FASA's Star Trek the role-playing game. Now it has been told. So, yeah. Now you know. So if you guys want to see an even deeper dive, if you want to see an actual character creation instead of this 10,000 foot glossing over, let me know and we'll do an actual character generation. We'll make a character from the get-go. And we'll proceed from there. I have no problem doing that. If you guys want to do that, we can do it Thursday. As for the rest of this week, tomorrow, again, we return to Wastrel Wednesday. That will be, if you're on the East Coast or just in the United States in general, that will be in the evening rather than midday like this one is. Probably around 7 Eastern, which would be 7:30 Eastern, which would be 4:30 Pacific. And that is like early in the morning for Kyle. So we'll be having Kyle for breakfast tomorrow. But yeah, if you guys want to go through a whole character creation process as lengthy as you've now seen it, say so. Say yes. I want to see that, Bill. I want that to be a thing. I want that to happen. And that's what we'll do. Because I'm here for you guys. I'm I'll do this for you guys and with you guys. I'm that kind of dude, you know. But anyway, that's really all I've got for today. We had a lot of fun looking over the Star Trek the role-playing game rules. At least I hope you guys did. Nice recap of last night's game. But tomorrow, Kyle will be on. Don't know what we're going to talk about. I may stream with Ishiro tomorrow night if he's feeling up to it. He's been having some issues getting to sleep lately, which I totally get. My sleep cycle's been kind of wrecked too. But I have a feeling they'll have me on, and I'll tell some more wild tales of RPG creation and so on there. And I'll tell them to you guys too if you don't want to come over. But I'll share the link when it happens. I'll share it over on Facebook. And maybe other places also. But anyway, thanks everybody for stopping by today. I really appreciate it. And again, a special thanks to everyone who subbed when you saw me fire off a flare on Reddit and on RPG Site and anywhere else. Whether you've been here from day one or whether you're a brand new viewer, your participation and presence is appreciated, wanted, and loved. Joshua says he definitely wants to see character creation. I'm not doing the Starship Tactical Combat Simulator. But Sterling Night claps. Well done, science. Josh wants to see character creation. So Josh is in the lead for votes. He wants to see character creation. So if you guys don't want to see character creation, you're going to have to say, don't listen to him in large enough numbers for me to not do that, to not generate characters. But that's up to y'all. I have a lot of notifications from YouTube about my stream health. YouTube is not currently receiving data for this stream. Uh-oh. Well, anybody, Catherine over on Facebook says, why can we not help? You guys can help. When I say you guys, I mean all you guys, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. You can say, I'll listen to you all. I am a benevolent overlord. Okay? I am an extremely easygoing dictator of my media empire. So, yeah, Catherine, if you want to help pick things, if there's some old school RPG thing that you want to see featured, then speak up and shout down Joshua, because Joshua is leading the way. He is leading the way, saying he wants to see character creation. And if you don't want to see that, well, you're just going to have to step up. You're just going to have to step up. So anyway, do that. Post a message to me. I may not respond on Facebook anymore, but if you post a message, I do read the comments, just like I read the comments on YouTube. I will read the comments on Facebook. So if there's something you want to see more of, but you don't want to come over here to YouTube, first of all, you should come over here to YouTube and subscribe and click the bell, because when we get to 1,000 subs, I'm going to host a virtual mini-con. And you guys are going to be able to play all sorts of games that I'm going to run. And as much as I love my friends over on Facebook, I don't really have the same types of engagement on Facebook that I have over here on YouTube. So even if you're only ever going to watch my streams on Facebook, that's fine. Hop over to YouTube, sub, and click the bell. And increase my viewers and get that mini-con to happen. Even if you only ever engage on Facebook, that's fine. Let's make it together, the character. That's an idea. So that's 2 votes for Star Trek the Role-Playing Game, 1st edition character creation. That's 2 votes. And we're just going by this. I'm not going to track down a bunch of supplements and try and like, oh no, I want to play a Tholian character, create a Tholian character build. I'm not going to do it. Passerby says, does it come with a chance to die in character creation? I was kind of kidding about that earlier, but I don't think it does. It comes with a chance to screw up during character creation and take longer and longer and longer and longer to get a viable military career, but not die. No, it's not like Traveler. Volga Sildohar, the Traveler has come. So far, I have a vote to create a character and a vote to us jointly creating a character. So there's that. So that's to consider, guys. That's to consider. But again, regardless of where you came in, thank you so much for being here for me. And thank you for helping drive the channel's popularity some more. Tell your friends, tell people, like, hey, there's this lunatic guy who, is going to create a Star Trek character live, and he has all kinds of guests, and he talks about old school RPGs. So, please tell your friends to subscribe, like, click the bell icon if you liked it. If you didn't, you know what to do. So y'all have an absolutely wonderful day. I gotta get some groceries before the thunderstorms start this afternoon. So peace to you all. I love you all. I mean that sincerely. And I will see everyone tomorrow evening, Kyle Shuant, on Wastrel Wednesday. Take care.